What's up, everybody? Welcome back, Fourth and Go. Wednesday night, Heat Ratio Sports. I'm Dave Gleckner at the Gleck on Twitter, and this is my man, the QB Sports Source, Marc Tomasini.
The QB Factory. That's right. Yeah, Philly Sports Source at Twitter. It's a whole long handle. We'll hit it. We'll hit you up later on our Twitters. But yeah, it's trade deadline eve.
I love it, man. This is going to be a great show. We're going to get into it. Bold and at the bottom, Super Bowl, NBA trade deadline. While we are Philly 4 for 4, I'm not sure we're going to get to much more tonight because I think we're going to dig our heels in and get some great stuff talking about both those huge events. NBA trade deadline ends tomorrow. What is it, at 4? 3. And then, obviously, Super Bowl Sunday night, Bengals, Rams. So we're going to have a fun show talking about all that good stuff. And last night I listened to the boys from Heat Ratio Sports. Sad I couldn't be there. And, man, I couldn't wait to talk tonight with you about all the stuff NBA trade deadline. But before we do that, let's just talk Sixers and the current state of the Sixers that sit in 5th place in the East. But it's funny. You're 3rd one day, you're 5th in next. They're about 2 games out from the top spot. They're 2 losses out. That's really what I look at. With the Heat having 20 losses, Sixers now 22. I'll tell you, Mark, I was impressed last night. I was real impressed with the Sixers, the way they played. I know Phoenix was playing off the back-to-back, but they knew, let's be honest. I watched them versus Chicago the night before. They kind of had their foot off the gas pedal for a little bit there. It did get tight late, but that was well after starters were gone. So they had a little chance to rest, and a 2-hour flight over to Philly isn't that much on your soul. So they knew they were dialed in. I mean, yes, back-to-back, but I still think they came in with –
that was the end of their four-game road trip, too. So it's on the back end.
Yeah, so they had some energy, and they're a really, really good team. The Sixers took it to them, played toe-to-toe. I just think at the end of the game, the better team won. And that's just my, dissection of the game. I read some stuff today. People blaming Doc. Steph going 1 for 9. Maxey 0 for 4 from 3, 5 for 16 overall. Those things didn't help. Don't get me wrong. But I think at the end, the better team won. Joe had a big turnover at the end after he ripped Paul, after he ripped Chris Paul. But they're good. They're good. They're real good. And you just got to tip your cap. I was encouraged because at times the Sixers play these better teams and lose by double digits. They beat some good teams this year. They're really good against Chicago, who I'm watching on TV right now. 3-0. But last night I wanted to get your take on what you thought coming out of that game. I'm not down on that game. I'm actually, like I said, encouraged, and I was really proud of the fight.
I'm probably not much, but a touch down on it just because you were up 14 in the 3rd quarter and you diminished that lead. And why Doc gets some of the blame on it is because of the rotation that he puts in. There's this dichotomy though, because are we overworking Joel Embiid? But then when he's not on the floor, you lose some. And Andre Drummond has actually been very well, and I, don't think he's going to be here next year because he's earned himself to start for at least a mediocre team.
He might not be here tomorrow.
Well, that's something that will be. That's a possibility. But with that being said, it is just a totally different look when the lineup that I loathe seeing is because they're technically starters, but Harris and Green with Drummond, Korkmaz, and I can't think of who else is on that. But they're always in the 3rd quarter, and that's where they lost most of their lead. In that rotation, both Maxey and Joe were on the bench, and that is a little bothersome. But I get you can't overwork Joe either, so it's again, that's why it's a dichotomy because you don't want to overuse him now, even though he's getting a lot of run. He did have that 21 game streak, and then he's still got this point streak going, but for the most part. The thing is, they hung in there, and the Suns took the lead, and then it was a back and forth with a very talented Suns team. They are talented from top to bottom, and it was hard to withstand. The Suns kept coming, but one thing I don't like to do, but I have to give credit where credit's due. Tobias played well last night. He's been playing well as of late. You got to give him credit where it's due. Now, there's also rumors about him, too, that we'll get into. and we'll see. But
I think you bring up
like I said, I'm not as hopeful about the game as you were last night, but it's not by much less. Just a little disappointing that they had such a big third quarter lead and they squandered it. That was the only gripe with it. But Phoenix Suns are a very good team from top to bottom.
Great team. Best record in the NBA. Were Western Conference Finals reps last year. They're and Monty Williams is tremendous. They're winning at a clip over 8-11. They're 44-10 now. Like they're just, and to think all it took was adding Chris Paul. No, that's not all, but I mean, Mikal Bridges, watching him last night, that hurt more than, I mean, what he dropped 23, 25, something right in that range on only 14 shots. Very efficient. Booker's obviously Booker. We get that. I mean, but, you know, the rest of the roster has really rounded into shape. And I'll go back to the one point you said, though, about Tobias Harris. And I'm with you. He's playing a lot better. He's playing freer, I almost feel like. He's playing, you know, the way we probably expected him when he came over at the trade deadline, but he's been lost in the sauce for a while, kind of running through quicksand. And now he's out there actually, you know, playing physical, playing hard, finding the space he needs. And 30 points last night was really impressive, especially I think he shot like 70%.
I think he was maybe 13 of 17.
Yeah, it was really good. And the three at the end of the game was impressive, 13-18. You're right there. He hit a three that got them right there, and then the steal from Joe, and obviously the turnover hurt, but that's just him and Seth just not on the same wavelength. But I think that's a great point. Tobias has played a lot better. I've seen some really concerted, you know, almost like focused effort. So yeah, I'm happy. Where I'm a little cold, and I love Maxey, we all do. I just, you know, Chris Paul's a different kind of guy, right? And what Chris Paul taught me last night was, go ahead, Maxey, shoot a three. And that's what he told him. They sagged on Joe late in the game, and they let Maxey try and shoot a three, and he went 0 for 4, a total from 3 and 0 for 2 in the fourth. He's probably going to have to develop a little bit more of that jump shot from deep, but also he's going to have to realize when they're sagging like that, maybe he's got to make some different plays because, you know, after he missed one, they went on a fast break, and Booker made an N1. So there were some plays there. I think Maxey learned a little bit of a lesson last night from Chris Paul.
I think that's a good thing about Maxey. He's I mean, you look at what he was last year to this year. You look at what he was at the beginning of the season to where he is now. It's growth. He's in the gym. He's a gym rat. He's going to continue to work on his craft. But but last night is a good lesson because I forget who it was. I think JJ Redick. I heard a story about JJ Redick. He was like, you know, I'm out to dinner with my, wife's parents. And the whole time I'm thinking, I got to play Chris Paul tomorrow night. Like, you know, think about it. Like, those are the things that, like, are like the harder assignments that you have to do. And it kind of changes the way you are, like, when you go against. So the only thing with Maxey is, and I'm fully on board with not giving up Maxey for anything. It doesn't matter. You gotta. We also have to taper our expectations for right now because he's still in year 2, trying to become a point guard in this league, and he's not your prototypical point guard yet. He's a shooter, and I love his aggressiveness. He's a runner and gunner, but the thing that he needs to develop more is his floor general status, and I think that's going to hopefully have to come with time. Hopefully he can develop that into his game. I think he's a young gun. He's ready to rock and roll, and I think he's got the mentality for it, but there's just a difference. He's not, I mean, obviously he's nowhere near that Chris Paul level, but he's got to get to that point where he's comfortable running this team. And because right now, all goes through Joe.
Yeah, nobody lights up Paul. And that actually, I took Maxey's under last night, 16.5. He ended, I think, at 14. Just because I just think it was a big – and look, I give him credit. He had 4 at half. I think he scored 10 in the third quarter. He had a little spurt there where he was going and really moving. And that's where you mentioned that spurt in the third quarter. When he scored, they scored, right? You know, we grew that gap. When he's on his game, really it opens up things greatly. And then when he went on the bench, he was never the same. But with that said, we're in the middle of a 4-game homestand. Thunder tomorrow night. Back-to-back Cavs Saturday night. Cavs Friday night.
I thought Thunder's Friday night, and then the Cavs are Saturday.
I'm sorry, it's Friday, Saturday.
Oh, good.
Yep.
It feels like a Thursday.
And then we get the Celtics here next Tuesday. So let me get your quick take on this before we get in the trade deadline. Thunder, Cavs. First time we played the Cavs all year, I think. And it's a huge game because they're just above us in the standings after their win again tonight. They have one less loss. And the Celtics, what's the record in those 3 games? Thunder, Cavs, Celtics.
2-1.
I got 3-0.
I'm curious about the Cavs being in the middle of that.
I am too. Here's my take on it. Actually, go. You go first.
Just with them adding Karis LeVert, they're a fun team. They're ready to rock and roll. And I think, obviously things one way or another, this team is going to be in some kind of shape when it comes to whatever happens, regardless of whatever happens tomorrow. Because there's going to be some moves regardless, and somebody's going to, whether it's Furkan in another deal, whether it's Tobias, something's going to happen. The chemistry is going to change just a little bit. They're going to go and take care of business against Oklahoma City, and Boston. By the time they get to Boston, they'll be in the right mind frame. But
they just played Boston well lately too.
Right, and I think that Boston will be looking a little bit different too by that time. But the thing is with the Cavs, the Cavs are rocking and rolling right now. So that might if the energy shift is off, I could see the Cavs taking advantage of a moment because they're a good, fun team this year. So we'll see.
They are, and they'll be on back-to-back nights as well. They
Right.
actually travel to Indiana the night before they come here. And here's my reason for 3-0, just real quick.
Yeah.
We're going to have energy. I feel the source coming. I feel that warmness. I just feel like we're going to get something special come tomorrow, 3 o'clock, even just before then, hopefully. And I feel like it's going to just pump this team up. That center is going to be rocking. You might not get the guy we want playing right there on Friday night, but by Saturday night, I think you will, and that's why I think you get that game. And then Boston even more because I think it's a TNT national televised game. So it's going to be rock, and I think they go flat out 3-0. Now it's tough after that. They got to go to the Bucks, T-Wolves. Knicks have been tough on them this year, so we'll see. But with that said, let's do it, brother. Let's get into the trade deadline. And before we get into what we're talking about,
hit that trade deadline machine.
Yes, and then before we get into that with, where the stuff, Windhorse, everybody with the Sixers say, let's first look at the trades that have been done.
Yes.
And what's caught your eye so far?
The Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings. There is another one that we'll talk about. Both of the 2 big trades, this one catches my eye a little bit more. Obviously, we were all in on Halliburton. We were figuring, we thought that this was really going to be the Kings and Sixers were going to be holding everybody up right now in regards to this. But, to be honest, so the deal is that the Kings send Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and who was the other one?
They sent
Tristan Thompson. No.
Tristan Thompson.
Tristan Thompson, and he's not going to play. He's going to be either a buyout or another flip. And then sending back to Sacramento is Domantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday.
Yep.
It is a good trade for both, in my opinion. It's a good get for Sacramento. They had their eyes on Simmons, Jeremy Grant, Domantas Sabonis. Those were a couple of the guys that they were looking at. But I think they only have one more year of control of Sabonis. And you're really giving up a guy. The reason why everybody loved what Tyrese Halliburton could be is because he's on the cheap. He's still got 2 or 3 years left on his deal. It's a team-friendly deal because it's a rookie deal. He's playing lights out. And you were looking at their whole dynamic with Fox and everything there. But eventually there was not enough room in that backcourt. Still perplexing about Fox and Mitchell being there. But, Fox is ready to come back. He's been injured. But, just to see Halliburton in Indiana, it's going to be interesting. And now there's going to be Miles Turner there. That team could have been a saving grace for the Pacers because they might be able to turn it around.
I'm with you. So I would even argue today that what you could have got from Sacramento is better what we'll end up with the Nets. I'm so high on Halliburton.
Yeah.
23 years old, I think. 37 he dropped on us when he came here. You could see the sleekness in his game, the length, the athleticism.
His shot is weird, but it works.
It's weird, but it works. And let's remember, I want to say Harden was drafted, I don't know, 4th or 5th, or was he even further down, like 7th or 8th. He was in the middle. He was in the top 10. Halliburton's right there too, 9th or 10th. These guys didn't fall out and they were number ones. They developed their games. That one stung because when I saw it said to me right away, Halliburton was there for the taking.
Yeah,
he was absolutely there for the taking. There was a deal to be had, and what the Kings are doing makes no effing sense whatsoever. Sabonis, we love him, and I mean, I think he's a great player, and he's on such a great contract. I think he's got 2 more years left at $20 million. At that production, any more than the NBA, that's a $40 million per year player. So, they got that, but they have no shooting. They're just Mitchell can't shoot. Fox has I think he's in the 20s for 3-point percentage this year. Barnes is not a 3-point shooter. Now you have Sabonis. He doesn't go out. I really don't know what they got. The only 2 guys that can make threes they sent.
They let out.
So I don't know what they're doing. But that one stung. I agree. That one stuck out to me, and it's gonna sit for a little while because Halliburton to me was the perfect put Seth on the bench guy.
Yes.
Seth needs to come off the bench. We can see it. He's playing too many minutes. He's wearing down. That one hurt. But that one did. That one stuck out. And then the second one, and you might talk about it. I might as well.
Sure.
I don't know what the hell Portland's doing. And taking off C.J. McCollum, I got it. You had to, but to get back that shitter of a package, and then go and trade. Covington and everyone else, what they trade him to the Mavs, was it?
No, that was the Clippers. So the first trade that they did was Norman Powell, who they just got in free agency last year, I believe, from Toronto. So Norman Powell, Robert Covington for Eric Bledsoe and crap.
Well, remember, they got Powell for Gary Trent Jr. I think that's what they did. I think Trent's lighting it up.
Right, to Toronto,
Yeah.
And so that happened. And then they're pretty much trying to clear house and clear cap space so they can entice somebody to come to Portland to be alongside Dame this year. But the C.J. McCollum trade is C.J. McCollum, I think. Who else went over there? Larry Nance and let me see.
Yeah, you get that, and while you're getting that wrapped up, they've made like 3 trades, and then they just picked up Joe Ingles.
Right.
For what? He's injured with an ACL injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they gave away McCollum, Nance, and I want to say they didn't. Simmons is still there. Their best player right now is Justice Winslow, potentially. I know they still got Nurkic in the middle, but they're just an absolute mess. How does Damian Lillard even want to go back to that team if he's healthy?
Right, and the thing is, and he keeps letting us know that that's where he wants to be, where he's going to stay.
It sounds like Mike Trout.
Right, just willing to waste away in a bad situation.
But yeah, that one definitely caught our eye. And there's been a few other little trades. Let me get to this before we get to the Sixers. After watching, the hoop heads we are, watching last night.
Josh Hart.
Yeah, Josh Hart. Well, he went from New Orleans up there. Yep.
Yeah. So
it was cool. Josh Hart sat courtside last night and wore a Brandon Ingram jersey. He's a cool little dude. And you know where he went to college, right?
Villanova.
Yeah, baby. Yep. Little hometown pride there. But I want to say last night I got to watch a little bit of hoops with the boys late at night, right before they were going to bed, and it's the death of the Lakers. They're done. Milwaukee's stuck a fork in them. We think they were done before then, obviously, but to watch last night, to watch Westbrook just completely flutter away, LeBron, not even sending any SOSs trying to help him. Anthony Davis just looking lost too. And they're relying on guys like Monk, Trevor Ariza, and they're done. I don't think they can do anything at the trade line. But have you heard anything about them?
No, I mean, there's a talk now. They were talking about feeling Westbrook out there, but it says they want to hold on to him and trade him after the season. I saw some proposed trade with Orlando that would pretty much get back if you sent out Russell Westbrook, THT, Kendrick Nunn, and a pick to Orlando for Antoine Moore, Terrence Ross, and 2 other players. I mean, it's slop for slop. Terrence Ross is the best player in that because he's just a good
It's sad.
Yeah, honestly,
but it's
when you
true.
look at it, I mean, the fall from grace that we've seen from Russell Westbrook. It's unfortunate. I mean, he was a stat stuffer and he really had a good thing going in OKC. It worked there, but ever since he's lost. He can't play his game anymore. It's
I've never ever liked his game. Not once.
Right.
I never thought
I was a fan. I'll be honest, but
I respected the numbers he put up, and I knew he was like a force, right? But that was a guy who was like, he will never scare me or threaten me to build a good team around. You just can't. You just can't. When he went to Houston, I'm like, that this is going to be highway comedy. It's just going to be just awesome watching these two just knuckleheads fight each other, and they did until the point that Harden was like, I got to get this guy out here, and then he gets Wall. And then he decides, you know what? I don't want to be here either. So deuces. But it's Westbrook is. And then last night in his press conference, he's sitting there saying he's earned the right to play at the end of the games based upon his track record. Bro, you don't earn the right based upon your track record. You earn the right about how you're playing today and tomorrow and yesterday. But it's he's bad. He's really bad, and that's on LeBron, in my opinion.
That is all LeBron. It's that's the one thing that happens when you bring him.
There he is. What's up, Al? Yo, we're just digging in, about to get into the Sixers. I listened to you last night. I tell you what, my man, you hit it on the head almost every time. I'm loving Sabonis. Wish we could have got a piece of that for the price that he's worth. Obviously, it wasn't in the cards for us, but let's do it. Al checked in. We got to talk about it. Mark, give me the latest on the Sixers. Brian Windhorst coming out today. It looks like it could happen.
Well, so there's a lot of things going on here. Obviously, time is of the essence at this point. But you got a lot of contradicting reports. You got Jordan Schultz, who's, letting out everything that's going on. He's got, top sources from the Nets that he's getting his word from. And, Windhorst coming out and saying today that, they're in the deal zone, which everyone's been talking about, the deal zone. That they're making a deal. But it's very weird, though, because Woj has been so anti this trade. Like he's been saying they're not negotiating. I don't understand. And this is the point that I made earlier and on Twitter. Did he get scooped and he's just not saying anything? And the thing is, too, funny at the same time, Shams has been super quiet. And Shams is the one who opened the floodgates for this to all happen.
Yeah.
Now he's been lurking in the wings. So it's a very weird state of events in regards to the NBA insider's head. But the latest that I'm hearing.
And listen, the latest with Windhorst around 5 o'clock, which we all knew, but was pretty much saying Harden is playing his way out of Brooklyn. 4 points the other night. I think that was in Sacramento, showing no effort, no defense. Kind of what he did on his way out of Houston. I mean, that's not much news to report. We all have seen it. But why won't anybody else say? So it's really interesting. I agree with you. It's like I'm not a huge Windhorst fan. Don't get me wrong.
No, I'm not either.
He lives in LeBron's job.
I say to Hart.
Yeah. I mean, he just lives in LeBron's jockstrap. Like
he does.
And and I mean, so now he's trying to get a new one. I feel, and he's trying to get Harden. He's trying to be part of Team Beard now. It's odd. I'm with you, and I'll let you jump right back to your other point. But it's weird that, Woj, Shams, they've been a little bit more passive.
Right. But the thing is, we just haven't barely heard from Shams at all today. Where it's funny though, because there's so many other sources that are commenting on this and saying where things are at. And, even Keith Pompey, who is the Sixers main beat guy. So if anybody's going to have an inkling I don't think he's lately there's been, Doc has questioned Keith and stuff like that. But regardless of what you want to say, Keith Pompey is locked in. He is the Sixers beat guy.
We've
so
had
if
him
he's
on the
out
show
there,
before.
I don't think he's jeopardizing his, opinion of what people think of him just to jump into what's cool. I do think that he's got to be tuned in some way, obviously. So it's very peculiar what's going on. But with that being said, they're saying the haggling and the sweeteners right now is what could be the holdup. Really not about Harden and Simmons, like that's the stew that's there. It's more about what the Sixers, I think, are willing to give up. And really, it just seems like not one side has the full leverage. It's like 1 minute. Now, this is all negotiations and tactics. But 1 minute you have the Nets have the stronghold, then the Sixers have the stronghold. Really, they both honestly don't have to do this trade. They don't. Neither of them have to do it. Sixers believe that they can get Harden more outright in the summer. But the thing that I want to not look past is you have the opportunity this year. You're halfway there this year. I know it's hard to build that chemistry, but if this is one of the best chances that you're going to have. And we all know that this is going to happen at some point. And I think Harden has made it clear to the Nets that he wants out. Because as of last week, they weren't talking about this. And I really think that this is hyped up since like the weekend. Because I think Harden made it abundantly clear. One of his teammates said when he was leaving practice the other day, they said, "Oh, he looked fine, but the Nets were keeping him out of practice."
Listen, I'm going to make this real simple. And we absolutely agree. It's so perplexing. But did a quick 2-minute drill the other day, yesterday.
Yes,
it's simple as this: to make this trade work, the Sixers have to give back $2.5 million more. So they got to find somebody else. And they're easy up and down the roster of guys I would give. And guys I would give include Danny Green. You know what? I'm in on the Drummond. They need a center. I'm okay. Cork Mox. Now, I get the more we give, the less luxury tax we have to pay. So it's in the Sixers' best interest to give like a Danny Green and not only the minimum 2.5. But if we only had to give that, cool. I am not giving you Matisse Thybulle or Tyrese Maxey. We can stop there. We can stop now. James Harden doesn't want to be there. He will not be there next year. If you just try and play games with us, we'll sign him. We're gonna offload Tobias. We're gonna find a suitor for Ben. We're gonna get other assets back, and we're gonna sign James Harden. And Daryl Morey, it's in the cards. And Nets, if you're gonna play stupid and ask for all these other pieces, then damn it, you're worse than I thought. Let's just make this happen. Let's make both teams go their other way. You know what happens when guys don't want to be there. They don't play. And they don't play hard. He's not going to play hard. He's proven it to you. Fat James in Houston looked like he was 8 cheeseburgers in to a meal right before the game. He didn't care. He's going to do the same there. He's done with Kyrie. He's done with the atmosphere there. He needs to move on. Let's make this happen. I have high confidence it's going to happen. And I feel like it is going to end up being someone like Drummond. Now I'm hearing if we give Curry, we get Patty back. Patty Mills. Right. I'm okay with that.
Now, so my first question was going to be, are you okay with a Seth Curry going over?
Yes.
Okay, so how about Seth Curry at first and Ben?
And what do I get back?
You just get back Harden.
No.
But if you get back Harden and Patty Mills?
Yes.
All right, now here's the thing.
I don't mind giving the first, right? Because it's going to be in the 20s. So
right.
I'm okay, yeah.
And here's the thing, though. And you know me, I love me Matisse. But don't be surprised. If it does happen, I wouldn't be surprised that Matisse is in there.
I can't do it. Marc, I can't
know,
do it.
And I don't want to do it. But here's the thing. Like,
James Harden stinks on defense. You need Matisse.
I know. And it would be, and honestly, you're set up perfectly if you have it where you have Harden, Maxey, Matisse, Tobias, and Embiid, or if you find a power forward somewhere else, if you offload Harris's contract. But the thing is, you're perfect because you have the defender and you got the scorer now. You have both.
Yes.
But the one thing, like, I'm still stuck on. I want them to do it this year. And I just think that if the Nets are going to hold anything over the Sixers' head, the realistic possibility is that Matisse could be in there because Morey loves Harden that much. And I think Morey wants to get him in the door now So he's convinced that this is where he wants to be, come further.
Yeah, I can see the point.
That's why the Nets might just say we need Matisse. Maxi's off the table. From everything that I've heard, there's no way in hell that Maxi is going.
And I think everybody knows that. Here's my thing that's become really interesting with how James Harden has played over the past week, and now how his intentions have come out of why he wants out. We actually have the upper hand. And when you have the upper hand in a deal like this, you don't make any concessions. That's why and there I am. I'm with you. Get Danny out of here, Al. It's Ben Green, 2 firsts. I'm fine with that too. But I know I get.
I'm telling you, completely agree with Al here.
Be there. He's going to sink that ship. Don't they eventually have to just say, you know what? I'd even go as far as say Ben, Danny, Seth in a first. I mean,
and honestly, if there's a way, I would give up whatever it takes for it to not be Maxi and Thibault. Like anything else, you can deplete us. That's fine. Of the Korkmazes, Danny, Seth Green or Seth Curry, you can take them all, and then we'll figure out the rest. But I think that if something happens, Matisse is going to be in there. Now I love Matisse. Excuse me, and he's a great defender. The one thing I worry about, everybody's worried about Matisse not being there for the playoff run because you need that defender. But the problem is he only gets about 15 minutes a game because he's such a liability on offense. And the thing is, the Sixers' offense or defense for the most part is bad already, and they don't rebound well enough.
They don't rebound well. I agree.
So you need somebody who can consistently score. And if you have to play that, and if you really think you have a real chance in this year's NBA, which I think that they do, when you look at a top-tier team being the Bulls, who they have their number, and the Bulls really beat up on bad teams because they showed their records against above 500 teams. They're not as good. And then you look at the Cavaliers. They're a young, up-and-coming team. I think you have the upper hand on them because you'll have better leadership. And
I know you get Harden, you're the best.
Right. I mean, you look at the Bucks. Obviously, the Bucks are going to be there to contend with. And I think that's really your toughest competition. Like the Nets are still, even if Simmons and Kyrie and Durant are all there, but Durant's coming off an injury. Like this is really your chance right here, right now. And I think the thing is with Thibault is that he is not good enough on offense to warrant playing him more than 20 minutes a game. And it's like, do we hold it up because of that? Again, I get
I will
next year. But I think that this is your chance to strike. This is your best opportunity.
So my argument there, and why I'm still on the Matisse, if you put that boy in Brooklyn and he's got to guard James, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to just shut him down because we watched the other night and guys still get their points. Morant had he struggled early, but
he still scored 37 points against us.
Yeah, Book got, what did he get, 35 last night? People still score against Matisse. But in the end, I don't want him terrorizing Simmons and Matisse. That takes away all their flaws from Irving and Durant and not having a center's defense. I can't give you both.
That doesn't hurt.
And I think it's Seth or Thibault. Al, I agree. But I just Seth, I'm okay with. As much as we love Seth growing up here, I mean, as him over the past year and a half, we've seen him start to wear and tear, and the mileage is starting to catch up. That was Morey's best trade. He made an absolute monster of a trade for Josh Richardson. It was stealing money.
If you eventually turn Josh Richardson into Seth Curry into James Harden, like that's huge. That's an amazing trade because all the stuff that Morey's done, but really tomorrow is going to be he's either going to gain the whole entire fan base or he's going to lose 95% of it. I'll probably be one of the 5% that still gives him a pass. I'm just going to be honest and just see what he does in the offseason. But that's the thing though. So here's why I feel like we're contradicting a little bit. Because you're going to be mad if he doesn't get it done tomorrow, but if he gets it done in the offseason.
No, listen. The off season is different because Harden's leaving. Like to me, it's totally different. Like Harden's going to come here as a free agent.
Right.
Where else does he have to go? And they're going to do a sign and trade, and the sign and trade is going to be pennies on the dollar. You're going to get like I don't know, Jaden Springer and Paul Reed. Like you're going to get trash just for him to come here. You don't have to give Ben, even though you probably will. I get that, but you're not going to. You'll give up less. I get that. But that's like Mark. That's like handing you lemonade at a lemonade stand and not asking you. Like it's going to happen. He's coming. He's not playing for them next year. Wow. So I can't give Daryl Morey credit for acquiescing to Harden's demands in the offseason when the demands are clear as day right now. They're transparent to me. Make it happen. Now, to make it happen, it's just with, press. Make it without Tybalt. Sean Marks, the GM up there in Brooklyn, little new, Elton Brandish. You can find a way to squeeze him out. I'm convinced. They know we want Harden. I get it, but I'm convinced. Like, if he can't make this happen without Tybalt, and if it does happen with Tybalt, I'll still probably live okay.
Right.
But I'm going to be pissed if he waits till the offseason and then gets the deal done. And it's very similar to what we're talking about today.
I'm still going to be pissed / disappointed, but I'm just saying I'm still like I honestly, my friends asked me earlier today. I say I'm at 55% that's going to happen. That's where I'm at.
If you asked me last week, I was probably at 30. If you asked me Sunday when the news started tweaking in or sprinkling in, I was 50. I'm about 90, and I feel good about this. And I think I'm not at 99 or 100 because I'm just leaving that little Philadelphia doubt inside me. And you can't always go all in as a Philadelphia sports fan as much as we want to because we always want to leave that little bit. But it's going to happen, man. I feel in my bones. It is the perfect match.
I hope so. I'm trying to get
now, let me ask you this.
Yes.
You were huge on Harden when we talked about this early in the season last season when the rumors were coming out, and you were all in, and I was a little nervous. And I'll be honest, I was. I saw a guy that didn't want to play. I saw a guy that looked fat. I worried about a guy that has never won in his life, was only on a team that got to a championship when he was surrounded by Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. The guy that had to carry a team, lost a 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors, has been known to come up small in the playoffs. So I was a little worried. I wasn't all in last year. I'm more all in now because I think as you get older, you get a little more wiser and you understand what's more important. The guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars. What's more important now? A championship, right? And he knows he can win it with Joel Embiid. I'm still good with it. But are we putting a lot of eggs in one basket for a 32-year-old that we're going to have to sign for 4 more years after this? That's going to take him out to contract year 37.
So my question is, I keep forgetting this: is Harden is a full-on unrestricted free agent after this year?
No,
he's got
a player option.
He's got a
player option, which makes him unrestricted. So if he declines, he goes unrestricted. Yeah.
Right, because I was going to say, even if we only have a year and a half of this experiment, I would be good with the trade, even if it was a year and a half. But he's most likely going to bow out and say, I'm testing the market.
And I want my
super max. Take a player option, right. And then he's in line for a $280 million deal that he goes from like 44 to 47 to 50 to 52 to $60 million by the end of it or something like that. Like it's an absurd number that he gets because it'll be like his third supermax or something of that ilk. So, I mean, at this point, I think with where the Sixers are asset-wise, the way that the team was structured, you have to put your eggs in this basket. I think the time is now. I think we're looking at the very prime of Joel Embiid's career. Hopefully he can hold on for another year or two on top of this. But I think you got to go all in. You went through the process, and it took very long to get to this point. But I think that you have to see it through. And I think this may be your best opportunity. You have Joel playing his best basketball right now. Who knows how long this continues? What does Father Time think? What does his injuries have to say about it? We're putting a lot of eggs into a 32-year-old basket who's shown an opportunity, but
Al just said it, and that's my concerns, right? And I think you're concerned too.
Yeah,
health, staying in shape.
but
this guy, man, it looks like he could just get fat quick, like, and just say, and when you get fat, and his game is, quick. I don't know about speed. He's got the quick, right?
Right. There's a difference.
Yeah, a little AI-ish.
He's quick off the dribble. Yeah.
When you lose that step, really interesting. But yeah, I do have concerns. I will be honest. As much as I'm all in, and I can't wait, because I look at Embiid in a picture of he's got 3 to 5 great years left. We know the guy is just balling out like crazy, putting up numbers that you couldn't believe. We've only seen, maybe at Olajuwon type levels, even Shaq, probably didn't reach these levels, and Shaq knows it. He admits it. And to have that small window, that's why I'm all in on someone like Harden right now, because I really think he got to capitalize. And I really think with the East the way it is, and you were starting to get there, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but the teams above us don't look like probably the teams that, you would be scared of in a typical season, except maybe Milwaukee.
Right.
Miami, too, with the defense that they can roll out. But, yeah.
I mean, if you get a guy like Harden, you're now contesting with all of them. Because the Sixers have been able to hang with these teams, but now you have a legit scorer. Like, the Sixers have not had a legit scorer. Even with what Joel is doing, he's not your typical legit scorer. They haven't had a guy like that since Iverson. It's just the way it is. A guy who's just a walking bucket. Embiid is great, but in his own right, we haven't had a guard or small forward who just scores. Who's just that guy that's going to get you down for 30 points. So my point, going back to the whole Harden thing and going back to where this team has been, where they're going to be, the other guys out there. And I think somebody has alluded to it, Al, about Beal and the Lillards. I don't think any of those are happening. I don't. And I don't know who else we can wait for at this point. Because before, because I saw Al said this to us, and he was reading my mind, because that was the first name that I was going to say. Both Lillard and Beal, I don't get where their heads are at with these franchises that they're on. They're kind of like sunken franchises, but they want to stay and they want to prove it. But it's a no-win situation, in my opinion. Washington, they can't do enough they can't lure anybody in. And they're great players, but nobody wants to go to Washington. Nobody wants to go to Portland. And their scenarios and the way that they're run, Portland is a nightmare. Their front office, let alone what they've done at the trade deadline. They have questions about their ownership. And this group is coming in, this group is coming out. Did this person do this? Did this person do that? And then Washington, they've never been a relevant franchise in the NBA. So, I just don't think that those deals are going to happen. Those players want to stay there in those situations.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to be honest. I think I'm out on Lillard, even if, I've lost a little bit of faith in Lillard now that
I have too.
Yeah,
you were all in.
And we hired your personal trainer or whoever that was. And we set up the perfect situation. Doc Rivers, an experienced coach, and Joel, you can really mesh well, and you chose to make the stance that you're going to want to play for a team that'll never win.
And they're slapping you in the face with what they're doing.
Oh, slapping. They're not signing anybody. It is not happening. I'm the Lillard thing. I'm soft. It's Beal or nothing if we can't get Harden. I agree.
Right, and the thing is with Lillard too, with the Trailblazers, it's been rumored for over a year now that, the ownership group is getting taken out for another group that's going to come in and clear house.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're showing you their hand right now, getting rid of everybody for nothing.
It's great. Yeah. Hey, we've run 45 minutes strong on this topic, and I love it. It's in our soul. And I got to be honest, next time we do something this good, we're bringing Al on because Al is from one of our favorite shows, Half Court Heat, here on Heat Ratio Sports. Really brings it every week. So if you're following us, please follow Half Court Heat too. They are awesome. They tweet every night about the Sixers, give you that in-depth look that you want.
And
give
you account himself too.
But yeah, awesome stuff.
Himself too.
Awesome stuff, and I'm sure we'll see live. But we got to get them on and talk some Sixers, maybe even next week. We'll line something up soon for sure. But I'll say this. I'll close with this. Daryl will get it done. We hired you for a reason. We hired you to bring a championship to Philadelphia. We didn't hire you to waste away Joel Embiid's prime years. And right now, you're doing that. You have an asset. You've had it for a year and a half. You screwed it up. And you screwed it up to the point that he's still sitting here and hasn't played a game for us about game 60 into the season. It needs to get done. And you need to do it tomorrow. That's my stance. And I'm not going to take anything less. Mark, you got any message?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's a message that can be reached out to it, but my whole thing that I'm worried about is that Morey put a blind eye towards Harden and a blind eye to any other deal that was coming this way because obviously he had to talk with Sacramento. I honestly still think that Ben could have been obtained in the offseason, Harden could have been obtained in the offseason without Ben. And I wish that I hope this works and I hope it happens. But if not, you look at that deal that Indiana made for Halliburton, and there's going to be a lot of, and I give Morey the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. But if you don't get Harden or Beal in the offseason and you don't make them, obviously not making a move tomorrow, and you missed out on Halliburton for Ben, all is lost. So as much as I'm giving him as much of the benefit of the doubt for him staying pat and just putting all his eggs in the Harden and not going through with it, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. And we'll find out in July if this was all worth it or not, if there's no move made tomorrow. And it's boom or bust.
Yeah, brother, that's my fear too. All right, with 10 minutes left in this show, I'm definitely going to be getting on tomorrow, whether we get there or not.
Right.
Mark might join me, but
yeah,
I hope we get there and get it done. But we'll give you some instant reactions tomorrow for sure. But with that said, we got a big game coming up this Sunday, Super Bowl. What's it, 56 now? I can't even count anymore. I think it is 56.
It is 56. That's correct.
Yeah. And you got the Joe Burrows versus the Matt Staffords. That's right, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Los Angeles Rams. Last night, the Heat Ratio Sports team swept the counter with the Los Angeles Rams. They picked to win the Super Bowl. I will tell you this. I'll be on betting for breakfast Saturday morning. We'll give my official spread pick. But I do have a lean tonight, so I'm not going to leave you lonely and cold out in the snow, but because it's going to snow on Sunday. But I'll lean to you, Mark. Give me some keys that you're looking at and where you lean.
Right. So, when I look at this, when you look on paper, you look at the Rams, how they're built, both on offense and defense, it should be a blowout. It should be Rams. They should be able to take care of business. But what have the Rams been all year? Inconsistent, and on both sides of the ball. You look at, sometimes they look amazing. Matthew Stafford's doing everything. He's got Beckham now. He's got Cooper Kupp. How could you go wrong with that scenario? But then you look at what they did against San Francisco, and now San Francisco had their number. They beat them twice this year before the game last week. And, you think about it, and you look at this front line of the Rams and that defensive front, and they should be able to have a field day on Cincinnati's offensive line. But Cincinnati held their own against the Chiefs last week, who
have a similar attacking defensive line. They not as strong, but they're good. Yeah.
Right. Wait, what do you mean? The Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
they have a good. They create a lot of sacks. I'm saying you're riding
a lot of momentum off of that Buffalo win, and Melvin Ingram, I talked about last week. Yeah. How he played very well. He was getting after Josh Allen. Even though Josh Allen still had a good game, they had pressure in the backfield. And they should have been able to do that to Burrow. And for whatever reason, whether the Cincinnati offensive line decided to show up, especially in that second half, or what have you, they took care of business and they got it done. So honestly, I think this is going to be this. It's going to be which LA Rams team shows up. That's my key point to the game. Which Rams team shows up? The consistent team or the inconsistent team? That's really what it's going to be. Honestly.
Yeah.
Dave, go ahead.
I don't disagree one bit. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I've been one of the few that have been on the Cincinnati Bengals since the playoffs started.
Right.
Love them versus Oakland. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. But one of the big reasons I did is simply the way that Vegas played in the red zone and how bad they were converting third downs. And Cincy was just more efficient. And that played out pretty well. Then we go to Tennessee, and we look at a game where I just thought, Cincy's kind of mindset of changing to a very much more heavy passing team. They passed at a 65% rate over the last 5 weeks of the regular season, 3 weeks into the playoffs. They're averaging about 65%. And I think in that game, it was actually the defense that really was the factor. But and then in the Chiefs game, like once again, the defense came up big for them. But more importantly, they converted on some big plays late in the game. And especially the play of Chase. Chase is special. They got a little fade in the corner and then converted the 2-point conversion. You felt the momentum going. And sometimes you can't explain it. And you look back at the Giants run when they beat the New England Patriots that were 19-0 going into the Super Bowl. You can't explain these things when these teams just really find this magical formula, this momentum. You're on point with the Rams. The Rams, and they're good.
They are good.
I feel they should be better. And I feel at times that they just give games away or give games that give them away, but somehow take them back at the end. And last week for San Fran or 2 weeks ago was one of them. I thought McVay was way out of his shoes, calling all these challenges. He was panicking. He just doesn't beat. Why do I forget his name? I'm looking at him right now. The coach, Shanahan. He doesn't beat Shanahan, so he's on panic mode, right? Yeah, he's on panic mode. 0-6 in his and
yeah,
but somehow they pulled out because Hart can't catch an interception, and the Rams just don't seem to have this like magic that the Bengals do. So with that said, I'm still riding the Bengals plus the 4.5 if you can get it in some markets.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I think the Rams may come out and pull out one of these, like what they did against San Fran, what they did against Tampa. But the Rams may win this game. And I probably lean towards picking the Rams to win this game. But with the points, I am taking the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, you got to love the Bengals. Starting out at 4.5 and staying at 4. I mean, to me, I think if the Bengals are in it, I honestly think this is a 3-point game, give or take either way. Like, just looking at it, I think it's going to be a close game. Unless you get a full-on dominating Rams performance, which I just don't see that they have it in them. Joe Burrow is just cool as the other side of the pillow. Like, there's just something about him that if he's in the game, he's going to give his team a chance to go. And honestly, Cincinnati, you discussed their defense, and they don't have any household names on their defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, honestly,
not really.
I look at the one person off the top of my head is Eli Apple, and that's because he's trash and he runs his mouth. Like, besides that, like, they really don't have. I mean, is Geno Atkins still on the team? I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you.
No, I think he went to like Seattle.
But
no, the one guy I like is the kid up front. Is it Hendrickson? He wears no gloves. A white dude is just in there battling.
Yeah.
90, I think his name is.
But I mean, that's not a defense that has anybody that you can write home about. But they lock in when it's time. Like, hold. I don't know if something happened in the Chiefs game, but Patrick Mahomes went from 3 touchdowns, 180 yards, and 155 quarterback rating to 55-yard passing, no touchdowns, 3 points in the second half. Was that just the momentum swing from the halftime call? Was it the defense? I don't know, but they kept them in check. And so if they can do that to Kansas City, what means they can't do it to LA with their inconsistencies. So that's why I think this game is going to be it's going to be within 3 points. I really think so. I mean,
I do too.
I really think that's the most likely outcome. And so to take I'm going to put something on the game for sure, and it's definitely going to be on the Bengals, unless they tell me that Joe Burrow's not playing. It's Cincinnati minus 4. Got it.
I'm just loving them. I'm loving the story. I'm loving the coolness. We saw Joe in LSU, obviously, and every time you thought he's going up against a beast that he can't slay, he did, and he did it with like authority. That year they were just so efficient scoring. I mean, he set a record for touchdowns thrown in a season in college football, one that stood for not too long, because I think did Mac Jones beat it the year after? But anyway, he's amazing. I think in this situation, he hasn't even been great in the playoffs.
No, he's been good enough.
Good enough and very good. Right?
And it's different though, because he's got that. He's also playing with half an offensive line too. So you can only imagine. I mean, you think about it. You put him if he has the Eagles' offensive line, because he's got all the skill players, and that's what helps him and propels him. But if he had a half decent offensive line, his numbers would have been so much better this year.
Well, that's why I feel like great could be coming, and I'm telling you that I think points are going to get scored in this game. When you get a guy like Joe that comes in, fresh off like a great win in Kansas City, his first Super Bowl ever, you would think these lights might be a little big. They might come out slow. I just don't think it is, and that's the point I'm getting to. And as far as Stafford goes, it's his home. They're playing in L.A. He's already played a lot of games there this year. He's going to be comfortable. So I feel pretty good about points being scored in this game, and I think it's going to be one of those that we're going to really enjoy watching. It might not get to the 41-33 Eagles-Patriots level, but I think we're going to see some points in this game. I think we could potentially see two teams in the upper 20s, one getting into the 30s, and that's going to make it fun for our, they owe us one. If that 13-3 New England Rams Super Bowl a few years ago, I think McVay knows it's time. And I'm looking forward to this game very much. I am riding with the 4.5 on the Bengals. I've got a couple plays in all around. As far as the winner goes, like I said, I'm gonna wait and think about that one a little longer. I do think the Rams have just like that win against Tampa when they should have lost. That win last week against San Fran when they should have lost. It's kind of telling me something that they'll play wrong for a while, but they might pull it out.
Right. I mean, I think regardless, it's an interesting Super Bowl to say the least, because you don't have two powerhouses really when you're looking at it. They're not. The Rams were supposed to be that, and they haven't played as such. So it's going to be an interesting. It's not the Super Bowl that we thought, but I think the NFL, the landscape has changed a little bit, and we're going to see the emergence of new teams. We're going to see what happens with this off season because of the shaking. There's no more Brady. Rodgers is probably on the move. Wilson's probably on the move. So, this could be. And you look at the power quarterbacks. Yeah, Kyler Murray now all of a sudden wants to.
What's going on with him?
That would be, the Howie Roseman better be on the phone. Looking to see what it will cost to get him. I mean, look, he's not perfect. He's not a perfect quarterback.
I don't like him,
but I would take him over Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, no, he's better there, but I just think his price will be way higher than even.
It probably will, and when you look at it compared to Russell Wilson, then I'm taking Russell Wilson. If the price is similar, you scratch your head and you think about it a little bit, because he is younger, and even though he is smaller, but Wilson's also small too. But it just feels like Murray's like half the size of him. But that would be an interesting scenario. But the good thing is, another quarterback throwing their hat into the mix of the shuffling quarterbacks gives a little more hope to the Eagles that maybe they can get something done with Wilson, because there's more out there in play. Honestly, the more quarterbacks available, the better.
It absolutely is true. And you just got to convince Sierra that, Philly ain't a bad place to play. So maybe Darius Slay's wife can help out on that one a little bit. But, hey, it's going to be fun come Sunday night. I know we'll be talking about it. I'm definitely can't wait. Going to have a little party over here. But it's just, it's the Super Bowl, and I'm just excited. Like you said, two new teams, New and away. Rams
Right.
were there a few years ago, but it's the Stafford, it's the Cup, it's the Beckham. Like, it's a different team. Yep. So it's going to be good stuff, man. Hey, as always, a great hour here on Heat Ratio Sports. It was I hope I got it right, episode 8. As always, I love just chopping up, cutting it up. I was so excited coming in this show to talk NBA that we got 45
We could have
minutes.
kept going.
We could. And I'm sure we will tomorrow. I can't wait to see what comes out. This is one of those. And the NFL does it too. And I know we'll get there because you just talked about quarterbacks on the move. Doesn't happen very much, but lately in the NFL, it has been. And it makes it that much more interesting. So tomorrow's going to be great for the NBA. And in a few months, maybe in weeks, NFL will have that same type of.
Give it a month.
Yeah. Yep. All right, bud. That wraps it up for us here on Philly. 4 for 4 plus more. Just 2 tonight, but that's all right. We are 4th and Go here every Wednesday. Heat Ratio, 9:30 p.m. Tune in, comment, be a part of the show. We love interacting with the people because we are the voice of the fans. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Mark Tomasini. Daryl, get it done. Got anything else? Yeah, you tell him with that Coors Light. Until then, until next week, we're deuces.